And now I have the great pleasure of introducing Miss Phyllis Goodman. She works in SWOG Statistical site. She sends emails to a lot of us every month, and we love getting those. Those are her expectation reports. So let's give a welcome to Miss Phyllis.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever been called Miss Phyllis before, so that was quite exciting. As was said, I'm the representative from the Stat Center. I am a statistician, and I work a lot with coordinating a lot of the things that go on at the Stat Center, and I have a lot of focus on institutional performance review, which is why you get to hear from me every month. But I've been charged with telling you kind of what's going on at the Stat Center and provide you some heads up for some things that are going on. I don't know how many of you were able to attend, but yesterday we had our first NCORE training workshop. There were over 150 people who registered to the meeting. And the goal was to support the large number of new and upcoming cancer control and prevention, as well as these new cancer care delivery protocols that can be a little bit more complicated than what our standard therapeutic trials have been. So we're trying to address some of the issues specific to these types of studies. The morning kicked off, or the session kicked off with a general session with some didactic presentations from Drs. Blanke, Hirschman, and McCaskill-Stevens, as well as Dr. Joe Unger from the Stat Center. And they kind of provided an overview of the program from the view of the NCI and SWOG. And then Joe presented about a comparison of why some of these NCORE trials are a little more challenging than some of the NCTN ones, and how they, pose different kinds of issues from the Stat Center and the analytic point of view, and then as it filters down to the data that are collected. And then there were a couple of sessions on the implementation, looking at, talking about issues about recruitment, patient follow-up, the QA issues, as well as funding for these trials. And then there were some breakout sessions that, there were some that were very study-specific, that had some of the challenges for specific studies within this portfolio, as well as chances to talk to Elaine about quality assurance, the funding issues, as well as follow-up and the NCI and CCDR perspective. We do hope to make this an annual event. So if you have suggestions for topics in the future, please submit those to cancercontrolquestion@crab.org or directly to Monica Yee at the Stat Center, who coordinated this workshop. The next thing is just a heads up that CTC-AE 5.0 is coming. The final draft is targeted for this month, and it's projected to be released sometime in 2016. Our first glance of it looks like it's going to be relatively a minor update, and most of the changes will be about additions of some new adverse events and some changes of the categories of where some of the existing adverse events are. But we expect minimal changes to any of the coding of the existing events. That's about as much detail as we have at this point, and as we learn more, we will let you know over the next couple of months. A few things about some protocols, big picture protocol items that are happening. S1404 is a melanoma study, phase 3, targeted study, high-dose interferon versus pembrolizumab in high-risk resected melanoma. As I said, it's a targeted trial. There's a lot of excitement about it. It's an FDA registration trial, so some more complications there in terms of data collection issues. And we hope that it should be activated this month. As well as S1505 is a GI trial, randomized phase 2 perioperative M-FOLFIRINOX versus gemcitabine, nab-paclitaxel in resectable pancreatic adenocarcinoma, and that's also projected to be activated this month. And of course, we have our lung map trial known as S1400, and as you know, new sub-studies are added as targets and drugs are identified, and then they move through the rigorous approval process. The next one that is coming is called S1400I, and it's going to be a replacement for S1400A, which is for the non-matched subgroup. And then after that, we're expecting S1400G. There is an H in there someplace, but I'm not sure where that is. And just if that's very general, and there will be a study-specific meeting about the lung map on Friday afternoon, 2:15 to 3:15 in the Crystal Ballroom. So now this is my topic, expectations in IPR. I know it's something you all look forward to hearing from me from every month. I'm going to talk about these in reverse order. Just as of September 2015, a couple of studies were added in that expectation and the IPR calculation. They had been excluded for kind of an unknown reason, but S0702, S1013, and S0711 are now included in your IPR statistics. And for some sites, that they did take a big hit. We tried to give a lot of warning about that they were coming and those data needed to come in, but giving you a little bit of a buy, a couple of months till you can get your ducks in order, but we will be expecting those data, and if they aren't in, they will be counting against you. And then the other thing that happened in the last 6 months is that monthly expectation report is now in a downloadable format. So I don't know if you've looked at it yet. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and with an Excel spreadsheet you get some of that functionality of any Excel spreadsheet. So it should improve your ease of managing that monthly report. It's sortable, and what I do when I look at them, because believe me, before I send targeted emails to people, I really do look at what's going on at your site, if there are specific issues with specific studies, and try to figure out first that our report's accurate as I can tell it should be. But what I end up doing is I take this Excel spreadsheet and I sort it by that right-hand column, which is the IPR column, where the asterisk identifies those cases that would count against you. And once again, I just want to emphasize, the monthly expectation report is anything due within the next 30 days or anything that's overdue. So when I take this expectation report, I sort it by that right-handmost column so I can see what are the cases that are the problematic cases. And then I sort it by the expectation type so I can kind of group my overdue off-treatment items together, as well as the baseline ones and then the on-treatment follow-up. You may choose to sort it a different way, but I just find for me it makes it really easy to, kind of sift through what are the important things that need to be acted on immediately. I talked about this 6 months ago, but I know all of you weren't here, so I do want to just remind everyone about what the expectation report is and some thoughts about where we're going with it. The current measures are for an initial form set, your kind of currently basic things that are needed to evaluate eligibility, and then 2 measures for follow-up, on-treatment follow-up and off-treatment follow-up, looking at time since last contact, some of those dynamic forms that are expected all of the time. But these are very therapeutic-centric. They really are focused towards the typical patient who's getting a chemotherapy regimen and is followed for X number of cycles and, on treatment and they go off treatment. It doesn't really hit some of the issues that we're finding with the NCORE studies that are very heavy on patient-completed forms and other kinds of forms that don't fit that paradigm. So we are considering changes to the IPR. It would be a policy change, and it would have to be approved by the Board of Governors. But we'll be looking at the submission of all forms. It's not going to be just targeted at looking at the treatment summary form or the AE form or the follow-up tumor assessment forms. And it's kind of in line with how Medidata Rave is doing some of their quality measures as well. So it will be a similar sort of measure. And we'll also be looking at including specimen submission as another quality aspect. Another topic is about mentoring workshops. And with the addition of some potential FDA registration trials, the lung map and the S1400 melanoma trial, as part of what the clinical trials are that we offer, we'll be reaching out to institutions over the next several months to discuss some additional training, data collection, and document requirements. What we're planning is to have some regional workshops that'll be 3 or 4 hours in length that will combine the discussion of the current requirements, including IPR and data collection requirements, along with the new information that must be managed as part of the FDA registration trial process. It's not an audit workshop, but it's intended to complement the SWOG audit program. If you're interested in hosting one of these regional workshops, contact Yvonne Lackey at her email up here. The other thing is about the Clinical Trials Training Course, or the CTTC. It was released to the SWOG website back in October of 2010, so we've been here for 5 years online. And it's meant to complement that formal training that's held once yearly at the spring group meeting. And the course has been well received, but the piece that's missing and hasn't gone online is the practicum portion. So we've heard from people that they would like a little bit more about that online. And if you recall, the practicum is set up with breakout sessions or breakout tables that are usually composed of 10 or 12 new CRAs, one experienced SWOG CRA or a data coordinator from the SWOG Stat Center. And the material's organized in such a way that a CRA walks through the steps that are needed to work a patient up, review the eligibility criteria, understand expectations, filling out forms and submitting the data, conducting response assessments, and reporting adverse events. So what we've done is we've worked with Mark Schofield at the SWOG Operations Office, and he's developed some e-learning modules that have been created, and they're geared towards replicating that experience of what a practicum is like in person, and those will be available, I've been told, soon. So look forward to that. Rodney would send out a message about it on the CRA listserv. And lastly, something else I talked about last time, but I'm going to reiterate again, just for those who may not have been here 6 months ago. Social Security numbers are always a touchy subject. But we have made a recent change to the SWOG registration worksheet. We now provide a place for collecting the Social Security number, because we still do ask for it. It's optional, but it's strongly encouraged. And it's strongly encouraged because we have this portfolio of NCORE studies that are really predicated on linking our data to these other databases that exist. And by doing that, it gives us a way of getting passive follow-up on patients. So in this era of prevention trials or adjuvant early treatment trials, adjuvant trials, we have patients living a long time, longer than our standard protocols collect follow-up on. Old days, we used to collect follow-up until death. We don't do that anymore, but we still want a way to be able to find out more about these patients. So repeated those 2 bullets here, but the databases that we've linked with, and on PCPT and Select, we've linked with the National Death Index, so we have information, long-term follow-up on patients that were registered in 1994. There's also been studies linking to the Medicare database, the CDMS database, so finding out things about long-term adverse events, data that you're no longer able to collect, as well as the potential to link with insurance or pharmacy databases. And these linkages allow us to do, like I said, studies of long-term effects, comorbidity, cost utilization, cost analyses, et cetera. So it's really a strength of this group is that we're able to do those studies. So currently, like I said, new studies will provide it on the registration worksheet, and we're going to look at the possibility of implementing it for existing studies as well. Just a reminder here about the email distribution lists. If you have questions of the Stat Center, the best way to get in touch with the right person or the right group of people to deal with your questions is it's the disease committee name followed by question @crab.org. And then general questions or expectation report, data management, technical question, and then CTSU contact @westat.com. And all of this is on the Contact Us on the SWOG CRA workbench. And one more item that I don't have a slide for, but as there was I think it was a Frontline that came out a couple of weeks ago about the SWOG website is going to be going through a major overhaul. And the opportunity exists now. They are kind of in a phase 1 of a development process of trying to figure out how people use it, who uses it, what they'd like to see in it. And there are people sitting out at the SWOG registration desk right now that they have a survey that you can take, and we really want to make sure we get CRA input in that on what they want to see on the website, because you probably use it more than a lot of other people. So we want to make sure that any changes that are being considered really reflect your needs. And I think that's it for me. Thank you.